Hi, welcome. For those of you who are not familiar with me and my practice, my name is Megan Warren and I'm a certified coach specializing in emotional resilience. If you don't know what emotional resilience is, essentially it's learning how to respond to people and situations in ways that honor ourselves but still let us create win-win solutions. They say life gives you what you most need to learn. And as I scored under the average for emotional resilience in the beginning, let's just say that understanding the journey, the before and the after, well, that's part of what makes me so effective at partnering with clients to think critically about how they can develop, a sense of peace amidst the turmoil of life. In addition to being an emotional resilience coach, I'm also an expat single mom, and my background is in business development and public health. Now, I've already started making a bunch of videos, and I'm going to continue to do this. The videos are designed to address a bunch of sticky challenges that you encounter in life and to kind of help you navigate through them. So you can subscribe to my channel to stay updated. Now, today we're going to walk through how you can bring your sense of being overwhelmed by work, by life, and by relationships, under control. So if in your life you feel like you're drowning in stress and tension, this is going to sound like magic. But luckily, it is possible with critical thinking and project management to bring it under control. Now, many of us learn to use those two skills in our professional lives, but we don't really learn to apply them to our thoughts, our perceptions, or the emotions that drive our behavior. But these two skills are key to managing the overwhelm in the moment, as well as managing that sense of overwhelm in the long term. Now, you can use critical thinking and project management skills to bring the overwhelm under control by following 3 steps, essentially. The first is going to be that you need to create your base. At your core, you have all the energy that you need to create your life. However, where that energy is sort of unbalanced, it's really going to be difficult to unlock the energy that you need to rise above that sense of overwhelm, to stop yourself from feeling like you're drowning. Now, there are 6 different areas that influence your energy level, and those would be mental, emotional, social, physical, environmental, and spiritual. So when one of these is out of whack, or maybe even more, many of them are so ingrained in our daily lives that we don't even realize that they're out of alignment. But where they are out of alignment, your energy will flag, and those molehills will actually then begin to feel like mountains. So take a moment and look at the 6 different areas. Where are there gaps? Where is your energy out of alignment? Maybe you're running negative thought loops in your mind, so mentally you're out of alignment. Or, maybe it's environmental. In this pandemic, maybe you've been stuck inside for the last 3 days with no change of scene. Maybe you're stuck in that tunnel of emotion. You log off the computer at night, right? But the stress doesn't actually log out of you. So it stays in your neck or your shoulders or your back. Maybe you haven't exercised or moved regularly in the last few days. Take a moment and write down where you are experiencing the trouble, and then look at what you've done in the past. What has worked for you? Use those strategies to bring yourself back into alignment. Now, if you're having trouble even finding the time, or you're having trouble justifying the time away from the stressor that getting back into alignment is going to take, well, think of it as putting on an oxygen mask. And that oxygen mask is going to make you more productive. Most likely right now that, when that sense of overwhelm is at its worst, well, you lose focus. You have 20 browser pages or, 5 projects open and active, right? You look at your to-do list 10 times, but you can't actually make yourself start any of them. Or maybe you do start them. You start 5 things though, and you work a little bit on each of them. You finish none of them. Or maybe you dive into something, but then you find yourself rereading the paragraph over and over before you realize it doesn't make sense. And maybe it's, you find yourself staring out the window and you don't even realize that you're staring out the window until when you do realize it, it's suddenly like you're waking up. But if you're not being productive, then everything is taking longer, and that basically just increases that sense of overwhelm, right? So where your mind tells you that you can't take the time to align your energy, make a note for yourself, because doing so is really going to make you more efficient, as well as give you the strength to keep going. Because if you don't align them, how much longer can you continue down that path? And at what cost? Now, the second step, after you've put your core in place, your base, is to look and figure out what the stressor is. So after you practice that self-care, essentially you're going to be able to tackle the stressor from a calmer, stronger, and more, focused space. Now, knowledge and awareness are power. So where you have time and energy to reflect on the why and the how of the stressor, right? Why are they wreaking havoc on your sense of wellness and your calm? Uncovering those connections can really be useful for reducing overwhelm, both in the moment, but also in the long term as you're planning for it. Now, where your stressors are not easily identifiable, right? Your life is just gray and kind of vaguely menacing, but there's not really a problem that you can pinpoint. Take a minute and do a body scan. And as you're doing that, reflect on your career and your relationship and your health and maybe, your spiritual connection. As you're thinking through these things and you're scanning your body, do you notice any pain or irritation? Pause and reflect as you hit a hitch in your breathing, or you get a twinge in your belly, or you have a knot in your back. What are those somatic symptoms? What are they related to? Even understanding that you're dissatisfied in an area, if that's all you can pinpoint, really can help you understand that you need to identify strategy in order to do something about that. Because that sense of dissatisfaction or unhappiness, that really also contributes to your sense of overwhelm. Now, the third step is to build micro moments in. So once you've got your base and you're feeling a little more stable, and you've identified the stressor, look at your day and your week alongside that stressor that you identified, or stressors plural, and try to spot when the stress and the overwhelm is most likely to increase. Then pre-plan micro moments of 5 or 10 minutes. 10 minutes is better, but 5 will work. Schedule that in so that you can practice to reduce the stress. Meditation, breathing, stretching, exercise, laughter, they all work. And there's a multitude of other things, right? And they all work to help you switch off that stress and overwhelm. And where you can do that several times throughout your day, you give yourself a break. So identify the moments where the stress begins to intensify, plan for them, and then be disciplined about sticking to that plan. If you use the metaphor that I used earlier, if you're on a plane, when the ride gets bumpy, you are not going to be able to cope unless you put the oxygen on, right? These micro moments are going to help you navigate the turbulence rather than, you won't crash. Now, maybe reading something is what helps you navigate things during a difficult period. And if that's the case, then I recommend the book Burnout: The Secret to Solving the Stress Cycle. It gives a lot of practical advice for releasing stress from overwhelm. What's really interesting about that the book does, is they separate the stressor from the stress. And when you stop the stressor, you don't necessarily stop the stress. So your mind knows that the stressor is gone, but physiologically, unless you complete the stress cycle, you get stuck in that tunnel of stress. And then from that space, any sense of overwhelm is going to be a lot more difficult to manage as you approach it kind of from an underwater viewpoint. You feel like you're drowning, right? So any challenge is going to seem so much larger from that perspective. Now, the two authors, twins and sisters, offer a variety of ways to manage the stress. The thing they recommend most is exercise or movement in any form. They also recommend creative expression, laughter, crying, cry it out, and breathing. Those things help you move through the stress tunnel, and that will help you end the physiological reaction. But ultimately, managing overwhelm, it's really about your life choices. Do you want to get better at keeping your head above water in an intolerable space? Or do you want to learn to swim somewhere else? As you're able to reduce, that sense of overwhelm that you feel in the moment, you'll be able to find space to apply those critical thinking skills I mentioned earlier to decide how you want to swim. Now, where you are overwhelmed in this moment, give yourself permission to find your balance. You can make it manageable if you do that. So my challenge for you this week is to identify which of the 6 areas in your life is most in need of balance. Pre-plan some strategies within that area, strategies that you've used before, and then schedule micro moments in your week to bring yourself back into alignment. When you've done that, come back to the comments on the end of this video and share how it impacted your sense of overwhelm with this community. Now, if you'd like to learn how you can, sustainably find balance or learn to think critically about your life choices, contact me on my website. It's www.meganwarrencoaching.com. And you can use the link to schedule a free discovery call with me. Thank you so much for listening today. Be well.